Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Dose 15, where I'll be giving you episode 4 of a series that we started several weeks ago now called The Loader Look, where we look at a topic or a debate within horse racing and I basically give my opinion on it. It's different from our vlogs that we normally do, where we do betting for each day in the format of an Each Way Lucky 15, but this is a series that I wanted to introduce on the channel that I have implemented. We've had some good debate so far. We've debated who's the better jockey, Ryan Moore or Frankie Dettori. We've also taken a look last week of what are the public conceptions around horse racing. Are they myth or fact? And also as well we looked at what happened at Yarmouth as well in the mix-up. So we've looked at a few interesting things so far, and I've still got plenty of ideas for this series. One thing I would like to look at maybe in the next couple of weeks is the female weight allowance, debate on that. Also as well, a few other things regarding horse welfare. Also, who are the up and coming stars of horse racing? Do we at the moment currently live in a time of superstars, or is the racing these days a bit flat and we really need a superstar horse? So that's something we might look at in a few weeks' time. But the one that I'm going to look at today, the issue, is something that happened and it changed my mind for what I was originally going to do for this week's vlog. It was with the death of Permian, unfortunately, which happened on Saturday. William Buick was riding in the Secretariat stakes with Permian, and Permian, unfortunately, got put down in the end because he injured his leg, I believe. I think he broke his leg and unfortunately had to be put down. He was trained by Mark Johnston, who's a prolific trainer, and Permian was probably his real star in his stable at the moment, and it was just such an unfortunate accident that happened. I'm not exactly sure why he fractured his leg, but it led to a lot of social media comments about that Permian was harshly treated by Mark Johnston and that he'd been running too much, because we all seen what superstar Permian was. He was very much a battler kind of horse, and he was always battling in his races. He won a big race at Ascot, at Royal Ascot this year, the King Edward the 7th, I think it was. And also as well, he won the Dante at York, so he won some big races. But between there as well, he'd run in the Derby, he ran in a few other big races as well, and a lot of people were wondering if this contributed to the horse's death, that he'd been running too much, and therefore maybe his body was a bit fragile to sustain an injury. And then that kind of raised the whole question to me: are horses raced too much? And are they not given a break when they need it? And a lot of people probably think that owners are greedy people, that they only care about horses, running all the time and picking up prize money. Well, I don't necessarily think that that is the case. There are a lot of horses that do run frequently, but then they'll get put on the break. It's a classic example. I know that, for example, Dan Skelton had a horse, I think it was called Too Many Diamonds, and it won 4 races in the space of about 2 weeks. Now that's a jump trainer, Dan Skelton, even though he does have the occasional runner now and again on the flat. But in jump racing, that's more common to have breaks after a race, because obviously they're over 2 to 3 miles. In some cases you get the odd national hunt race that is 4 miles, and therefore when a horse does race, it will take quite a lot out of them. So compared to the flat racing, it's okay for normally horses to run slightly more, because obviously they're covering shorter distances and they don't need as much of a break. Now, in regards to Permian, Mark Johnston came out and he said, actually, you know what, I actually haven't ridden Permian at home on my gallops that much. I've actually raced him more on a race course than I've actually done on the gallops. So it shows that he wasn't a really heavily trained horse. He was always quite lightly raced, in the fact that he wasn't raced much at home and he was always raced at the racetrack. So that wasn't a question really that Permian died because of too many runs. But that is a good, interesting debate. Is horse racing unfair on the horses when it comes to the horse running too many races? In my opinion, I think that yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit harsh if a horse doesn't have a break, but you normally can tell when it doesn't need a break if it keeps performing well, and then when it does need a break, you can often tell that it's often tired in the race. For example, like I said, National Hunt is more obvious normally when a horse definitely needs a break, because obviously it would have been running more mileage, and the jumping aspect of it can take a lot of energy out of the horse. So on the jumping side, they rest their horses, but on the flat, I don't think you necessarily need to rest the horses that much. They all have limits, really, in the end. Even though they can hold entries to run all the time, in the end, trainers are going to come to their senses, and they don't run the horses for the hell of it just to get the money all the time. They will plan normally how a horse is going to progress. For example, sometimes if it's maybe a fun kind of horse, for example, like owned by a syndicate, they might send the horse out more, because normally syndicates tend to be lower graded horses, because it's just a bit of fun at the end of the day, and a lot of people can't afford great horses. So that's where you might get more running in a syndicate kind of way. But normally, like if it's a more of a top quality horse, especially like a horse like Permian, the trainer will sit down with the owner and plot its course and how it will progress, and hopefully they'll get the best out of the horse. So that's something that I think the people on social media were a little bit unfair to Mark Johnston, because obviously he knows what he's doing at the end of the day. He trains the horse, he has the horse at home in the stable, so he knew what shape Permian was in, and obviously we just see what we see on the racetrack, and obviously we do learn a lot about a horse's habits from just seeing it on the television or being at the racecourse. But unless we go behind the scenes at a stable, or we know the horse inside out, we're an owner, we're not really going to know what the horse is like when it's at home in the stables day in, day out. So that is something that we don't really understand as just horse racing admirers and horse racing fans. We don't always know what horses are like. We just often are going on the word of the trainer, and also what we see in our eyes when it comes to the races. So it's a really interesting debate, but I don't think that horses, it doesn't necessarily matter if they need a break or not, in the sense that like if they run all the time, then it's cruel on the horse, because in the end the trainer will take the horse off and put it in for a rest. So if it benefits the horse to maybe run quickly, then by all means it's good, because sometimes, for example, horse might win and then it's got another chance to run a few days later before the handicap will whack it with a penalty, and there's a chance for prize money. Now that's not always cruel, because sometimes these horses, it's done for their own benefit for later on down the line, for like when they're going to be racing against different caliber of horses and things like that. So it's not, in my opinion, I don't think it's cruel to run a horse all the time, but obviously it is cruel to deny it a break when it obviously needs one. And horses on the flat can run a lot more over a shorter course of time than over the jump. So it is an interesting debate, and obviously at the end of the day, unless you know the horse inside out, you know its limitations and when it can run and not run. And also as well, a lot of people were slating Mark Johnson. Well, he sent his son over, who's actually a qualified vet, to America, who spent the last moments with Permian, but he knows what he's doing. He's a vet, and also that's something we did talk about last week as well, the welfare of horses. It's something that really isn't understood by the public, that there are a lot of rules in fact that help the horses. The horses always come first when it's in the race, and there's always a vet down at the start before each race, checking them, seeing that they're race fit, ready to go, and if there's something wrong and they're not happy, they will pull the horse out before it even runs. So normally the horses are in very good hands, and it's just sometimes the freak nature of horse racing that can sometimes unfortunately produce these horrible things, but it's just part of the sport, and you can argue that it's part in any sport. There was the cricketer that died from just getting a ball in the head. That was the Australian batsman Phil Hughes a few years ago, and he just did it playing the sport he loved. Also as well, there was the footballer that he didn't obviously probably know about his heart condition, the footballer of Newcastle, Czech Tiote, who just died of a weak heart. Fabrice Muamba nearly died, but his heart condition wasn't really known about until it happened. So people just carry on doing their sport until something eventually happens, and it's the same in horse racing. You don't know until you go out there and race a horse. So all in all, it's just unfortunately the freak natures of life that unfortunately Permian died. But he was a great horse, and I feel sorry for all his connections. But hopefully we'll never forget that horse, because he was an incredible horse. He was a very workman kind of horse. He always put 100% in, a definite battler. And in my opinion, I think at the end of the day, trainers have common sense when to run horses and when not to run horses as well, and they often give them the right amount of time when it comes to a break. So I think it was very unfair on social media, the criticism that Mark Johnston got, but let us know what you think in the comments box below. I know I've given my opinion here in the loader look, but let us know what you think about horses being run a lot of the time. Let us know in the comments box below. Also as well, please subscribe for more horse racing videos. Like I say, we normally do betting videos, but this is something I've changed over the last few weeks. Another angle looking at on the channel, because my dream job is to be a horse racing journalist, because I'm going back in September, as many of you guys know, to do master's degree in sports broadcasting journalism, and that's why I created the channel, really, to gain some experience and gain some confidence behind the camera. So yeah, it's just a bit of fun at the end of the day, and that was my opinion of this particular subject. We'll be back next week with a loader look, and also as well, watch out for our daily horse racing videos that are normally uploaded every night the day before the race. So subscribe to the channel, like the videos for more horse racing daily content, and we'll be seeing you soon.